Hey everybody, welcome back to Breakfast with Bob from beautiful Oceanside. My name is Bob Babbitt. We are brought to you by HOKA, Master Spas, deboer wetsuits, Premium Plus Sports, SFuels, and their new Zone Fuels that you can get a free sample below. And our Challenged Athletes Foundation, we're sending out about, over $7 million worth of grants to over 4,000 challenged athletes around the world. And one of our favorite challenged athletes of all time, Mr. Willie Stewart, joins us. How you doing, Willie?
I am awesome, and it's awesome to see you. You're looking electric.
Electric is good.
Yeah.
Electric
How are
is
things
good.
going, Bob?
Everything is really awesome. You know what is funny? Because I was looking back at the connection between Ironman and CAF, and obviously everything started with McLaren. And you met McLaren. You met Jimmy McLaren. Was it at the hospital in Colorado?
Craig. Yeah, what happened
at
was
Craig.
At that time, Craig had a contract with the organization I was working with.
Was that in Breckenridge?
Yeah, up in Breckenridge. And
Okay.
his brothers, who walked down the steps, and he goes, "Can you take," and he described Jim to me, and I go, "We can take anybody skiing." And then I met this dude.
And he's a quadriplegic at that point.
Yeah, but I mean, he was, in my mind, he was just a rock star. He was. It's just the way he carried himself, and I didn't know that
Did
he
you
had
know his backstory?
None. I knew nothing.
Okay.
And then I was like, "So you lost your leg when you got hit by the
By a bus.
car?"
Yeah.
No, the car, because I didn't know there was two injuries.
Oh.
I go, "Hold on, dude, you got hit."
Yeah, right.
Anyway, and this is how we're talking. I go, "You got hit by a car, lose your leg, go and do a couple Ironmans, crush it." You know, I think he was like
1042.
1042,
Yeah.
crush it, and then you get wailed on by a.
By a van going through a closed intersection.
And then
during a race
he's
in North
like,
Carolina.
I go, "Twice?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, that in itself is just unreal. And then he just was a cool, very cool person.
So you had him on the ski slopes.
Yeah, he was. And then I talked to his brother, and then we bring him up on the ski slopes, and I had two just rock star fun young guys.
Yeah.
And they loved Jim McLaren. And then every night we'd go to the sushi bar, eat sushi, and drink sake and pound some beers and have a great time. I love that guy.
What? And then so he was the one. At that point, you were not an endurance guy.
No, I was a pure rugby player.
Right.
And he goes, "You should do Ironman." And I go, because my wife did Ironman, Lindsay. And then, and I met him. He was like the second Ironman I ever met. And I was just bowing down to him.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Dude, I tried, man." And I ran to McDonald's, pounded down a couple Big Macs and called it quits. That was like in 90 or something like that.
Yeah.
Or even in the 80s. And then I meet him again. He goes, "What, are you a wuss?" And then he was like giving me crap. He goes, "You don't think you can do Ironman?" I go, "Nah, I can't swim." And he goes, "Anyone can swim 2 miles." And I'm like, "Really? You believe I can swim?" And it's basically what CF does. It tells you you can do it. And you believe in me? I mean, I'm missing my arm. How can a one-arm guy go swimming for 2 miles? And he said, "Dude, get in the pool 30 days and you'll be fine." And I did.
Yeah. And then he invited you out for, was it the first San Diego Triathlon Challenge?
Yeah, he invited. I think it was the
Might be the
first one.
second.
It's probably the second, because
I think the second.
And I didn't know any other people with disabilities that were athletes.
Right.
You know, I knew a lot of ski team people and stuff.
Right.
But that was that wasn't too long after I was hurt, and I didn't really spend time with anyone, so I didn't know all those athletes until after I got here, and then just the triathlon culture in general sucked me right in.
Well, and when you came out for San Diego Triathlon Challenge for the first time, I think you're right. I think it was the second year.
Yes.
And at that time, it was a full half Ironman.
Oh, dude, and we were full on racing. There was no such thing as stoplights and stop signs. And because there was everybody, it was dog eat dog. And then people are like, this is supposed to be a fun ride. What's a fun ride? We have numbers on.
Exactly. 1.2 swim, 56-mile bike ride out through North County, San Diego.
and
then a half marathon where you ran up and down Torrey Pines Hill.
Yeah. And
Crazy.
I loved all that stuff. I thought it was it still is probably one of the best training courses there is.
No question. So when you first, and I remember we was with Kurt Sandoval when we came out to Loma Linda.
That's
to
right.
basically surprise you on air that you were going. The good news and bad news. Good news,
Yep.
You got a trip to Kona. Bad news, now you got to do the Ironman.
Yeah, and I was like, that was one of those soil thyself moments. I think it's biblical.
It is, yeah.
And so, that kind of changed my sporting life. Yeah, it really did. And I went down to Brazil and you have to
qualify.
You have to qualify, and I went down to Brazil and I was like,
did you have to do a full?
I just did it.
Okay.
I just went down there and did it because I wanted to see if I felt like I didn't belong there.
Right. Yeah.
and that's just kind of like, I think that's how people with, they're disabled feel like they don't belong anywhere.
Right.
And I said, where do I go? And they said, go wherever you want. I said, wherever I want. So I swam up to the front row. I got run over by 1,000 people,
So
but
what?
it was
Yeah.
great. It was like
Yeah.
one of those great, almost being drowned for 2.5 minutes straight is like, you're alive. Because if you don't want to really swim hard, well, you won't be alive.
Exactly.
And I like living. And that was I thought that was I thought it was an amazing day, from start to finish.
When you come over to Kona for the first time, and this is before prosthetic arm
Yeah.
you could use, so you had a reservoir under your seat that held like a gallon of water.
I forget what
because you couldn't take your hand off the
was like
handlebars because
it
the
was like-
wind is pretty bad out in the Queen K Highway.
Yeah, it was like a milk jug tied under my seat. It
Yeah.
looked good with cam straps holding it on.
I know.
It was really impressive.
So you had that, and that way you threw a straw, you drank out to Hawi, got off the bike,
Yep.
refilled your gallon reservoir, and
Yes.
rode back.
Yes, it was something. And, it was interesting because I saw a picture of that the other day, and I always think that I'm like my character's one on Willie,
Right, right.
And I always felt like I was this pretty confident guy about being a disabled guy. But I see all the photos of me in transition that year. I have a towel or something or a bag over my shoulder.
Yeah.
I mean, I never really liked seeing who I really was. And I think after that, I never hid who I was.
So back then,
I still hid who I was, and that
interesting.
was almost 20 years after I lost my arm.
Right.
And I still did stupid stuff like that.
Well, but that's coming to grips with a serious change in your life.
It totally. And then you start thinking back on other people and people we meet today that, there's a transition period for our soldiers or vets or
Right.
officers, especially here because,
Right.
it's Operation Rebound. But that transition period, mine lasted 20 plus years.
Right.
20.
And yeah.
But you don't know that until you look back and I see a photo. I'm like, wow, man. It was kind of emotional.
Well, and also just the life-changing is getting an arm
Oh,
plugged
my
into
goodness.
the handlebars, right? Because now
Oh, yeah, that
you
was-
can be the athlete you want to be.
Well, the arm thing, which was the best part
Isn't
about
that Rudy's leg?
Yeah, it's Rudy's leg. Yeah. And, I hope everyone knows Rudy, but it's Rudy's like
Rudy's a double above knee amputee,
The-
and his prosthetist, Michael Davidson, basically took Rudy's leg.
parts of
and-
all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
had a little junk box and he started welding them together. And I'm working with a young lady right now, welding the pieces together.
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen overnight.
No.
But even the broken pieces that Mike put together,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, damn, this 2-arm thing is cheating. This is so easy.
It did feel that way, right?
Yeah. Then I got on a mountain bike and I'm like, man, this is really, because I rode mountain bikes for years and years, but I would never race because I always felt I was going to I didn't care if I hurt myself.
No,
I
you
didn't
want to
wanna
hurt somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then I started doing other off-road triathlons, and then I
And then you
did
found Leadville.
Yeah, and I just mountain biking was liberty.
So with Leadville, when you first wanted to sign up for Leadville,
Oh
and
yeah, that was bad.
They didn't really want you there.
Yeah, let's say it was under different management.
So when you went to sign up, did you tell them?
Remember back in the day, you had to do a physical check. And,
Oh.
And so they physically checked you in.
To see if-
what's your heart rate, blah, blah, what do you weigh?
Wow,
all that.
okay.
And they wouldn't even, they're like, you're not even coming in here. You're not capable. And I've already done Ironman at this point.
Right.
Kona,
Right.
not counting all the other triathlons.
And they're saying you're not capable of doing
I'm
this
not
race
capable of doing it.
because you've got one arm.
Yeah, no, you will never finish it.
So how did you get in? You sent your money
I
in?
did that little rap fake my arm thing out.
you-
Because I'm like, I'll show my stump now. I'm liberated. I'll take my shirt off in public. And I walked in all confident, chest out, chin up. Where are you going? No. And I've already paid my money. I got
Right.
in through the lottery or
Yeah.
something like that. And you're not coming in. You're not doing it. And it yells across the room, one-arm guy out.
Did he say that?
It was basically the most, and I walked out and I'm like, wow, maybe this is way harder than I thought. Maybe I don't know anything about sports, and maybe he's right.
Yeah, of course.
He set me back psychologically. It's like, because it's so easy to damage you when you're coming up and then you're down. You're coming up and then
Right.
you're down. And when that happened, I went out and a friend of mine kind of put his arm around me. He's like, dude, put a wig on and change your jacket.
Right.
Let's go back in.
Right.
Because the guy never checked my ID. He
No,
just
no.
threw him out because I was a warm guy.
Yeah.
Came back in, had a bag over my shoulder, different thing, different hat, hoodie up. I don't
No
know
problem.
How's that good for the interview?
Yeah, yeah.
How's sound, man?
Yeah.
Anyhow, it was went in, got it, and then I started in the very last row,
Right.
in the very back of the race, and I went out there and I was so pissed. I hammered for 23 miles, and I thought I was at 43 miles.
Oh my God.
And I go, is this Columbine? And they go,
And they're like,
are you stoned? Which I've been accused of a lot.
I know, yeah.
Yeah. And so I go, he goes, no, this isn't Columbine. He goes, you're 20 miles away. And I go, oh crap, I'm in big trouble. But it snowed that day, like 6 inches. Almost hundreds of people didn't finish. And I put my rally flag up. Second half of the race, I uncorked one and finished.
And did it.
Yeah, did it. But people tell me, you should drop out. You're going too slow. You'll never make a cutoff. I go, I feel pretty good.
One of the issues that I think we have always faced is when you are different and you're a kid or whatever, every time you leave the house, you don't blend, right? People stare.
Yes.
People say if you're in a wheelchair, you're missing an arm, you're missing a leg, people notice. And either you embrace it or you shrink from it. How long did it take for you to embrace it?
Well, I'll tell you this. I was a mean mug.
I've seen the rugby video.
I didn't like to put up with a lot of crap, and so if I felt like I was being demeaned, I really didn't put up. And that was the thing about the Leadville thing, is like I overestimated myself.
Right.
But
you don't know until you put yourself out there.
It's just tough. And like, because remember, I walked in the rugby field and stuff like that. It was never easy. And I see, like, I look into people's eyes and I see where the eyes go. I always see.
Oh yeah,
where
you
it
can
goes.
tell, right?
And then I think I size up, and I think it's just a PTSD thing for the rest of my life, that I always will size people up on just how they say hello.
Right.
How they say hello and what their comfort level is. Are they starting to sweat all of a sudden, or is their heart rate up? Are they gasping for air? And it's not like, I think having one arm, and you know this about me, it was a gateway. Losing my arm was horrible. It really was a horrible thing, but also it was a transformation moment in my life, only because it was like, I got to reinvent everything I am and who I am and learn everything new. And I think that's what brought me to California.
Right.
I just wanted to get away from everyone, came out to California and said, I kind of like this lifestyle. But no one cared because no one knew me with two hands.
No, that's true.
So I was,
Well, and also I remember, now how many kids in the family? 9? 8. 8 kids. You're in the hospital, just lost your arm. Mom comes in. You toss her an orange.
Yeah.
Say, Mom, peel this. And what'd you do?
Well, my mother, I'm saying this with pure love. My mother was a unique human on this planet, and she was tough as nails. And some people will go, oh, it's sad to hear your mother passed away. And I just like, well, you guys didn't really know my mother. She was just a little terror. And I chucked an orange. I remember sitting in the hospital bed and chucking the orange with my good hand, because I was like, how do you peel an orange? And I chucked it to her, and almost immediately, like, she was pissed, she hucked it back and said, peel it yourself, and walked out of the room. And then years later, she told me she walked out of the room and cried. But
she knew she had to give you tough love at that point.
Yeah, and she actually had an uncle with one arm.
Really?
And she had another uncle with one leg.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, and she came from a big family.
So
a lot bigger than ours. Was a little family compared to her family.
8 kids, little family.
Yeah, that was little. Hers was big.
My God.
Yeah, and they're some of those cats are still around, and they're colorful people.
We're talking when you done Ironman, Leadville, Leadman. But one of the accomplishments that I appreciate the most is that whole kayaking the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, that was stupid.
But that's the thing, is someone will come to you and say, hey, we're doing a venture race in British Virgin Islands. Okay, I'm in. Yeah, is that sort of like, I'm always going to answer yes?
I think
I lead with yes.
I think I'm reckless.
Yeah, well.
And that's why I really like getting married and things like that. I'm like, really? You want to marry me? That's a red flag. But I loved adventure, and I got to the point where I could laugh at myself and failure, but I wouldn't quit if I failed.
Right.
And I have races I've dropped out of before.
Sure.
I mean, the more stupid stuff you do, the more you don't finish. It's like Hurt.
Right, yeah.
I mean, the first time I went to Hurt, I got pretty much humiliated. And the second time, I figured it out.
Well, the Hurt 100 is in Oahu, basically in a rainforest, and the slipperiest terrain, algae covered. I think we ran like 5 feet, and I was like, I'm out.
Yes,
this is the
that's
silliest.
Exactly what you said.
I thought, I'm out. I'm going to break an ankle here, and I've always been into self-preservation. I like things that are a challenge, but I'm not going to hurt myself.
But I remember you go, there's moss on that rock.
Yeah, yeah. And those roots, I love that.
Yeah.
You've been a spokesperson for CAF from the beginning, basically. What has that meant to you?
Well, I mean, CAF. It's pretty simple. CAF has this transformative effect on people that are newly disabled, but not just the disabled person, the brothers, the sisters, the family members. It's like, and it's like a big bear hug, and it comes and puts your arm around you. And everyone talks about the equipment, the grants, and all that. And I'm like, it's mostly someone that is not related to your family that tells you, you can do that.
Right.
And it's like, I can. And that's got a lot of power to it. And I think, and this is just something a lot of people don't know about trauma or children born differently. There's no playbook.
None.
No one knows anything.
Nope.
And a mom or a dad, and they're told that your child is this, your child is that. They're coming up for air. I mean, they're not sure what to do. And then someone says, have you heard of CAF? And it was like, I was just in Crested Butte, Colorado. And a mom, I told her about CAF, and she goes, yes, we went to the running clinic in Denver. And she goes, and I said, well, it's really cool. Why did you go to the running clinic in Denver? She goes, well, my daughter that was looking at you has just lost her leg.
Oh my God.
And she was only 8 years old.
Yeah.
And I said, well, that's awesome, because that was a running clinic in Denver.
Yeah.
And you already figured that out, and she just had her leg amputated. And she came back about 20 minutes later, and she's crying, sat down. She goes, I just want to tell you that finding CAF, it was a born-again moment. And it's someone just saying, it's like finding that everything's going to be okay. And that is really, really intense stuff.
It really is.
I mean, and people aren't throwing oranges back in your face, which is nice. Thanks, Mom. And it was like, but you don't have to have an orange thrown in your face. You just have to have someone say, you can do that. And you know the story that my mom made me promise to go down and do a 5K because I was in trouble when I was probably 18 years old. I was still not 19, and I wasn't doing anything. And she goes, there's a 5K fundraiser. I need you to go down and do it. And she goes, promise me. And that, my mom, you didn't make a promise and broke it. You never did. And she goes, and I went there, and I sat on the line like a little baby because I didn't want to run. I didn't want to be stupid. Didn't want to look bad. I didn't like how I looked. And I did it. And I was terrible, but I loved it. And that's what CIF is like. And that's what Ironman does. I mean, it's like...
Oh, no question.
When you go into Ironman, it's like, you want in? Sure. If you're dumb enough to sign up, sure. And then it was like, where do I start? Just go up there and start.
Yeah.
And then what do I have to do? Finish. You got, what is it, 17 hours?
Yeah, 17 hours.
You got it.
Got it all day.
Anything else? No, just do what everyone else does.
That's it. It's an equal opportunity user. We don't care.
But it was the best. And I was like, I like this. And I still, here we are 30 plus, almost 40 years later, and I'm still towing the line on these silly things.
I love it. Thank you, buddy, for everything you do for the foundation, for all these kids out there who you have been the role model for.
Yeah, well, thank you, man, for giving me the opportunity. And it really is. It was healing, and this is the last thing I'll say, healing for a lot of the families comes from being able to help other families.
No question.
And that healing component for people with disabilities is huge. And like the first day I could help someone out and give them guidance on how to do it.
Yeah.
That was transformative. Now CIF has thousands of me out there. Thousands of me out there. Whatever they call us.
A scary
Cheers,
thought.
brother. Thank you, man.
Willie Stewart has been our guest again. Breakfast with Bob from Oceanside. Hold on. We will be right back.